Hey everybody, this is Space Marine Steve, and this is Hyperspace Hobbies. I'm sitting here with my good friend Ian.
Hello.
And I am so pumped to look at some of these models today. They also got like a ton of new kits. So Lionel Johnson, as it turns out, was just the beginning.
Yes.
Because they had tons of new kits coming out. And let's just dive right in. Inner Circle Companions. When I first read it, I was like, oh, Inner Circle Champions, yeah. But no, it's actually Inner Circle Companions.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of like they're sort of like the Company of Heroes. I'm getting the Company of Hero vibes from these guys.
Yeah, totally. They're like a weird kind of like Blade Guard veteran retinue thing. Yeah. And so here's what it is. Okay, Inner Circle Companions. They got the stats of a Space Marine. The move 6, toughness 4, 3-up save, blah, blah, blah. OC2, though, on Elites is actually kind of rare in Space Marines.
It's very nice.
And then when we look down at their stats, they've got ranged weapons. Ranged weapons, of course, they've only got heavy bolt pistols, and that's a pistol, of course. And then for melee weapons, they have a Calibanite greatsword that has 2 profiles. And the first profile is strike, and that's lethal hits. They get 4 attacks. Hit on 3s, strength 6, AP -1, 2 damage. And then they can do sweeps, which is sustained hits 2. Kind of cool. Weapon skill 3, of course. Strength 6, AP 1, only 1 damage, though.
I would like to see higher AP on these things.
Yeah.
They seem a little bit starved for AP for being a great sword. Anything that is a sword like that, I mean, usually has AP. At least, like, give them AP 2. I don't know why they didn't do AP 2 on these weapons, but
yeah, it feels as though like every other sword in the game is AP 2 except these.
Yes, well, like besides chain swords and whatnot.
Yeah, well, that chain sword's got AP 1 just like this does.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna get back to that in a second because the weapon is actually really interesting. But the attached unit, basically, if a character can join Stern Guard vets, it can also join this.
Excellent.
So okay, they come in squads of 3 or squads of 6, They've got a set of rules that are quite fun. Of course, Oath of Moment, they're a Space Marine. And then we got Brazzers of Judgment. So while a character model is leading this unit, each time an attack targets this unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good.
They don't have an invulnerable save, so they need something to try to keep them on the tabletop for a little bit longer. If what we're going to do is compare them to Blade Guard, I think that is something. I still would rather go with an invuln save besides instead of the -1. But what are you gonna do?
I think you're kind of right there. Like when you're looking at it, like -1 to hit. If they do get hit by things that have decent AP, like a 3-up save is really not that great.
Yeah, they're just gonna get shredded.
Yeah. Now they do have enmity for the unworthy. So each time a model in this unit makes an attack that targets a character, you add 1 to the hit roll.
That's not bad. Hitting on 2s.
Yeah, it's not bad. And then that's it. That's it. It's honestly a really clean data slate, and it can kind of, it can kind of fit into a lot of things. Basically, every single character in this book, aside from the ones that are in like Terminator armor, can go in that unit.
And I think that's probably where some of the spice is going to come from this unit is the characters that are able to join this unit might kick them into superstardom it might open up a door that we can't see yet. Like I'm not too impressed with their current profile, but maybe there's a character that can kind of make them shine a little bit brighter.
Is it just because of the AP?
Yeah.
It basically is, right?
It's 100% just because the AP. Because they go toe-to-toe with other things with the same sort of profile and AP.
Yeah. And
like their exact stat line is the same as a Blade Guard veterans, minus the fact that they don't have invuln save and they have OC2.
Yeah.
But their weapon isn't as good.
Yeah, it really is.
Granted, being able to choose lethal hits or sustained hits too is really strong. I would just prefer AP over both of those things.
Yeah, I mean, like, maybe there's a little bit of play. So let's say you've got a squad of 6 of them, and you put a captain in there. Okay, great. And then you charge in, and you attack something that's the Oath of Moment target. And then you're able to do the full re-rolls, digging for the sustained hits, right? It kind of becomes like what the old school Inceptor bombs and stuff were like. Right? You're like, oh, I'm going to take my bolt guns that are strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage, and they're sustained 2. We're just going to dig for the 6s. However, like, they only get 4 attacks apiece. Like, it's really not... Like, most of the time when you see a strike and a sweep, The sweep usually has more attacks because it does less damage.
I guess they're just counting on the sustained hits too being the factor in how many extra attacks you're going to be getting.
I mean, you and I both know that's not the great choice. Like,
No, even if it was one more attack with sustained hits too.
be way better. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't, and there are, like, in this book, as at the time of this recording, like, this is the book that comes in the special kit, and technically it's not out yet. Technically, they're not even going to adjust the points until, you know, the time comes. But right now, a squad of 3 of them is 105 points.
Yeah, that doesn't check.
Blade Guard are 90.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Okay, well,
I don't
maybe
know.
there's just something we haven't seen. Maybe there's some stratagems or something that will kick these guys into a new level. Who knows?
who knows? But our first reaction, though,
The models are so cool, though.
they are so cool. Like, look at the photography here.
It makes me mad that the models are so cool, and
It does, yeah.
The rules are.
Not great.
Not as
It
great.
doesn't make you feel good. But for the most part, though, yeah. We'll wait and see, kind of reserve long-term judgment. But first glance, yeah.
All right.
So moving along, like taking a look at the Terminator squads that came out. So these are gorgeous kits.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
They're beautiful kits, and they're sized up as the new Terminator size, which is like absolutely the right size a Terminator should be. And the regular Deathwing Terminator kit, honestly, like, really doesn't have like a bunch of new things aside from a couple of different weapon options. So they can, of course, take plasma cannons where regular ones can't.
Yeah.
Right. But they also do get Deathwing. So each time a model in this unit makes an attack, you can ignore any or all modifiers to the attack's ballistic skill or weapon skill. And in addition, each time a model in this unit makes an attack that targets your oath target, you add 1 to the hit roll.
Is that not just what regular Terminators have? I think they have
They add to the hit roll when you're targeting it, when you're shooting against the oath target. I don't believe they actually have the
ballistic skill
the
thing.
ballistic skill
Okay.
thing. And then they also have the Watcher in the dark. So once per battle in any phase, this unit can summon a Watcher in the dark. When it does, until the end of the phase, models in this unit have the Feel No Pain 4-up ability against mortal wounds.
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially a free upgrade.
Yeah, it's like a free little upgrade.
And then the only other benefit that these have is the ability to take a plasma cannon
Yeah,
in
totally.
the squad.
Yeah, so not a whole lot different, but at the same time, like, you're the Watcher in the dark. Funny enough, the Watcher in the dark, like, 4-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds, watch that be wildly important. Like, let's say you're playing against Grey Knights, which are getting a lot more popular right now.
Yes.
Right? I also know that T-Suns can sling some mortal wounds here and there. Eldar still has some options, I believe, to sling some mortal wounds. There's places
Even
for mortal
Necron, a
wounds.
couple mortal wounds coming your way.
Yeah, right? So, like, it actually could be important in some matchups. And because you're totally in control of when it actually happens. Right? It could be on that turn when all of the Grey Knights, like, teleport in to do the big strike, and then you're just like,
powers at you.
4-up invul.
Yeah.
Sorry, 4-up Feel No Pain. And then your opponent's like, no.
Yep, it's a good little trick to have.
Yeah, and they are a little bit more expensive than regular Terminators. So these Terminators are 205 instead of the 190 or
Currently
whatever they are.
205.
Currently 205, as put it in this book, right?
Yes.
So we'll see what that actually looks like when the book comes out.
Cool.
Proper. So next is the Deathwing Knights. So we're kind of just leaping a page over here. So these are probably some of my favorite models that GW has put out in some time.
Even the old ones that they released were some
Looked
pretty
great.
beautiful models. Yeah.
And so they really just dialed it up. They brought up the size, the shields are gorgeous, the weapons are great, the facial expressions are fantastic. This one hurt my heart a little bit, Ian.
Why is that?
Because in the previous rendition of this,
Okay.
Maces of Absolution used to be 3 damage.
Right.
Right? But now Mace of Absolution is 4 attacks, weapon skill 2, strength 6, AP 1, 2 damage.
It seems like a lot of the stuff in this book has a similar profile to that. Strength 6, -1, 2 damage.
Yeah.
And if they're a character, they just ratchet the AP up 1.
1. And that's it.
So like their close combat it's not shocking me.
No, it's really not. And for units that you would think would, like, look at how bulky these dudes are.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you would think that these guys would be kicking butt and taking names, and they just might not. Now, They could also trade them out for regular power weapons, so not even master crafted ones. Just like strength 6, AP2, 1 damage.
Oh.
Right? So regular power, you could trade them all out for power swords, but that doesn't seem great. Now, the Sergeant can take a great weapon of the Unforgiven, which has devastating wounds, sustained hits 1, and that makes 5 attacks at strength 6, AP2, 2 damage, but that's just the one guy.
Right.
You can't spread that out. He could also have a relic weapon, which is strength 7, but still, only they basically ceiling everyone at having AP2, 2 damage.
Yeah, they seem very capped by that. That seems to be a bit of a speed bump.
And
but these Deathwing Knights are 4 wounds.
Yep.
And have the Inner Circle ability, which means each time an attack is allocated to a model in this unit, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic, which means those 4 wounds are going to go a lot farther than you'd expect.
I mean, that is true. How many points do you think these bad boys are, though?
I don't know.
290. For 5.
Whoa.
290 points. You can't, you cannot tell me.
No, that's not justifiable.
No. 290 points, that's insane.
Yeah, that's too much.
Right? That's I don't even know. It feels it just feels like you're getting ripped off.
And they also get the Watcher in the Dark for the feel no pain for mortal wounds thing.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, that's not a justification of their 290. Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And they can only be taken in squads of 5.
Yeah, so you can't even be I'm going to take squads of 10 and be really annoying. You can't even do that.
Right.
Which means the most amount of attacks these things you're getting are going to be 25. You compare them, I guess, with you would only ever pair them with a captain because Belial won't do anything to them because precision on all of their crappy melee weapons and they have no guns. So that's not what you want. Right. So I guess the only way to really use them is a Terminator captain to give them rerolls to charge.
And a 0 CP.
And a 0 CP, which, you could use in the, the Unforgiven task force. You could 0 out the 2 CP. I'm -1 to wound in the fight phase 1.
The 290, where is that coming from? Is it the -1 damage? Is it the subtract 1 damage characteristic from attacks? Is that...
It must be.
Where the extra points are coming from? Because it seems like that's a lot.
It feels like it's a lot. You know what? I bet you that is where it must be where it's coming from. GW must look at that and then go oh, it's -1 damage, which means it's too good, right? Even though I think maybe these are kind of paying for how ludicrous -1 damage started to become at the end of 9th edition. Do you remember that time?
Yes.
When you're Wraithguard had -1 damage, and all the Dreadnoughts had -1 damage, and then that thing had -1 damage, and then a whole army had -1 damage.
Yeah.
Right?
And they eventually they just released armies and tuned all the damage up by 1, and you were oh, okay, so everything's essentially back to normal.
Yeah. And I feel this is almost paying for that ideology, where they see -1 damage, and then they kind of leap backwards in time and go, oh, we remember -1 damages, and that was broken.
Well, we don't know if they might release a points reduction for stuff in this book, and I would assume the Deathwing Knights would go down probably to the 220, 230 range.
Yeah, maybe 250 at a max.
250 would be a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
50 points per guy is a lot. But if you go 50 points per guy and you look at some of the, 4 wounds and Terminator armor, the weapon's pretty good. It's, for 50 points.
It's not horrible.
It's not horrible. But I would go somewhere around the 220
range. And then you're really oh, okay. And then I imagine you bring Terminators down to they're a little bit better than regular Terminators. So you could bring them down to 195 versus 205.
Yeah, 205 is a bit steep.
Is a bit steep. But it's not totally out to lunch. This feels almost like they want to hurt us.
Yeah, well, maybe they're taking into account that if you're doing a big Deathwing army, you're going to be playing the Deathwing detachment, and there might be some issues. It might really start to ratchet up and become a problem when you do full Deathwing the Deathwing detachment.
Right. So basically, they're starting to balance.
They might be paying
it.
for the sins of the detachments.
Yeah, that's possible. We haven't done any kind of like deep dives into the detachments yet. If it's something you really want to see, and we've done these kind of detachment things before. We did it with the Space Marine release.
Yep.
If you want to see some more of that, make sure you put it down in the comment sections. If you were to kind of rate some of the new like kind of kits that came out and new data sheets. Which one stood out to you as being your favorite?
Visually, the Inner Circle companions look amazing.
Yeah, they're beautiful models. If you like hearing us talk a little bit about the Dark Angels, we've still just kind of started digging into this. I know I'm starting to really digest it. If you want to hear some more, put it down in the comment section below. Make sure you like, subscribe, share with your friends, etc., etc. This has been Space Marine Steve and
Ian from Hyperspace Hobbies.
And we are saying good night.